talking about how a lot of people now, beyond just gaining their degrees, want to also get some professional qualification and all that. Mr. Armah Addy is an educationist and is joining us on the line now to have a conversation on this particular issue. Thank you so much, sir, as always, for joining us right here on this platform.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you and good evening to our cherished listeners.
Great. Let's talk about this important issue that you have raised, degrees and professional qualification. Of course, almost everybody has a fair idea and knowledge about the difference, such that I studied the social work here at the University of Ghana. Our friends who have also, after school, gone to do some ACCA and other qualifications and all that. Beyond the basics that we know, help us get the distinguishing factor or the element that sets the two apart, and then we can get more into the details of this issue.
Thank you very much again. Let me say in a bit of a laughing manner that a friend in a couple of years ago enrolled in one of our public universities to take one of the degree programs, and the deputy asked him that for the program that you are studying, when you complete the university, what would you become or what would you be known as? Because he knows that if one studies law, he becomes a lawyer. If you study medicine, you become a doctor. When you study engineering, depending on what aspect of engineering you study, you become an architect or a mechanic engineer, and etc. And that was, for me, then brought to mind the sharp difference between just obtaining a degree and having a professional qualification. So that now the competition in our educational space, the competition for employment points that it is not enough for one to have just a degree, to say that I hold a degree in this field of discipline, and also not enough for one to only say, I hold a professional qualification in this discipline, but then the combination of the two has become more important and more relevant if one is to stand strong in the labor market. So that in that piece, I was trying to make a clear distinction between having a degree and having a professional qualification, and the need to have both in the investment that is required.
Very well. Let's get more into the issue as you have raised, because what we have found out now is that there's this gradual interest in moving beyond just having either of the two. And so you would find that for most people, if you don't have a degree and then you have the professional qualification, it appears that it is not enough for the job market. A lot of people also now, even after acquiring the degrees, a lot of friends at the business school study marketing, study accounting, and all that. But beyond that, there's still the need now to have the professional qualification. Can we understand why it is increasingly becoming so in the modern job market, so to speak?
Is it going through our university system, our traditional educational system, to obtain a degree as a certain discipline that it abides in the student? For instance, waking up early in the morning and going for lectures, or the process of going through lectures has a certain discipline that it imbibes into the student. Also, the nature of professional qualification, which is more of a practical-oriented study, which also one does from the comfort of their home most of the time, at their own relaxed time, does not, to some extent, bring that rigorous discipline that going through a degree program brings. Whereas the professional qualification focuses on more practical aspects, the degree focuses more on the theoretical aspect. So that for one to be rounded, it is important to have both professional qualification and a degree. So that now we see, before then, one had the impression now if you go through the business school and you have a bachelor degree in business administration, then you can say I have an accounting option, so I'm an accountant. But going forward, we realize that that does not make you a professional accountant, and that you will need to do the professional education in order to become a professional accountant. Okay, so that one is not enough anymore. While the degree alone is not enough, the professional qualification alone too is not enough. And that has made it very expensive, time consuming, for one to be able to be founded for the job market.
You would understand if I argue that the usual expectation of universities or schools of higher learning is that they are able to churn out graduates who are very much who have very much of an experience from different perspectives, different angles, and all that. And so, if now, despite our studying of social work here at the University of Ghana, studying the psychology, studying our business administration and all that, we still need to get some level of qualification from professional bodies. It would appear, therefore, that institutions of higher learning, universities, for instance, are failing. You would agree?
Yes. And you see that now the curriculum of many universities are changing. They are changing to bring in more professional focus. So that as good as the degree is, because it introduces you, it opens you up to study in various fields of discipline. For instance, a business administration student would have done courses in psychology, in sociology, in philosophy, etc. Whilst if you go into professional accountancy, the focus is strictly on accounting, and more accounting. So that it is not, again, enough to have just the degree. As I say, again, it is not enough to have just the professional qualification. So that some universities now going forward are trying to fuse the two. And even in the attempt to fuse it, they still hold the professional qualifications on one hand and then the degree on the other hand. So that you will see students who enroll into some universities, and then you are told that once you do your degree, you can also register with the ACCA alongside, or the CIM, or the CIMA, the CIMA alongside. So that by the time you finish your degree, you would, if you are smart enough, you would have qualified as a professional accountant or marketer, etc. So you put the two together in order to give you that leverage you need on the job market. But whatever it is, no matter how we tend to blend it, it looks like the two have established their grounds in their various positions, so that you cannot do without the other.
But also going forward, why do you think it is not the case for a lot of social science programs? We know, for instance, that one has to have a certain qualification or certification to practice as a psychologist. Even if you study psychology at the University of Ghana, you cannot carry yourself as such. If you study social work, for instance, there's still the certification that one has to get to be professionally recognized as a social worker. But it doesn't appear that for those social science programs, there's the need for any professional training again, as against what we have in the areas of accounting, areas of actuarial science, for instance, and those business-related programs. Is there any reason for this?
I think that education has evolved a lot. It has evolved a lot, and the difference is what institutions of higher learning are trying to solve. Because you see, like the clear example that you stated, if you finish a first degree in psychology, you can't hold yourself as a psychologist until you do the professional level of psychology. So that is the professional qualification in the university that we have, as in continuum to the degree program that we do. The same answers for like law. If you do the LLB, you don't hold yourself as a lawyer until you've done the bar and you have been called to practice as a lawyer. Okay. The same with medicine. you do one phase to move to the professional level. So the other programs which does not enable the students whilst in the university to acquire the professional qualifications, like those in the business administration, etc., those are the spaces that the professional bodies like the CIM, the CIMA, the ACA are trying to fill that gap. So that when you get into those disciplines, you would have to do both the degree and then step up the university to obtain the professional qualifications for those studies. And as to whether in the future the universities will consider into curriculum development and get that next step of it, in order to make the one who enrolls into the university and finish a BSc, let's say with accounting option or marketing option, to become a professional marketer, like we do for marketing, engineering, law, psychology, and other programs, will be something that the universities will have to consider going
should
forward.
Universities do that as a matter of should universities do that as a matter of necessity? If you were in a place to advise, would you make that argument, or you think that it is also very fine to have the theoretical base delivered by the university, independent of this professional experience that people have to get also?
Oh yes, of course. If it enhances what we want to do, if it enhances the quality of education that we want. You see, the thing about education is that a country must assess its own self and look at what is required in order to bring the developmental needs of the country. But it seems like again and again what our senators do in this country is picking the things from other places and directly placing them in our context here without taking cognizance of the contextual needs of our education that of our country. And that is the problem. And this is what you would want educationists to come around the table and look into. That what peculiar things can we do in order to make our education answer the needs of our country. Other than that, if we maintain the status quo, as is done in other developed countries, then it's going to take us a long time to use our higher education to respond to the needs of the country. And that is continuously a problem.
Very well. Obviously, with how the trends are going, definitely if you really want to effectively operate in this market, then you would have to find a way of getting there. Quickly before you go, Mr. Niyamadi, if it is the case, as you have even argued here, because of the cost involved, if it is the case that one does not have the financial wherewithal to be able to acquire the two, given that they are often provided in different entities, in the market and the structure that it is today, its requirement and what it looks for all the time, which one would you trade for? Which should be the opportunity cost if you can only take one?
It depends. It depends actually on the individual and what we immediately need our university for. Okay? If for you it is immediately getting a qualification and entering into employment, you have to choose between going for a professional qualification and going for the degree, then you will see that those who fall into the category of immediately finishing the education, higher education, and going into employment will go the way of the professional qualification. But if you want a well-rounded education so that you take the professional aspect at the next step, then you go for a degree. But be that as it may, there's a certain perception that has been created by our educational system over a long period of time, which presupposes or suggests that those who acquire degree first are fine and like well-tuned than those who go to the professional level.
Very well.
So again, like I said, it's up to us as a country. Okay, it's up to us as a country to see how to manage the two, so that the degree holder will have that equal recognition as the one who has only the professional qualification. You have to link that bridge.
Very well. Mr. Addy, it's always a pleasure to have you right here on this platform talking about some of these very, very important issues. Thank you so much, as always, for your time on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. And so that's an educationist and, of course, management consultant, Mr. Ni Armah Addy, helping us on this particular.